What you are about to experience is out of this world. Politics, history, and of course, a lot of entertainment. It's time to rock it with the Docket.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Kyle Dockery with the Dockery Docket. We are here with our very 107th episode of the Dockery Docket. I'm excited to be here, and I hope that you are excited to be here as well. And if you are excited to be here as well, make sure to go down below, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, so then you never miss one of my videos. So if you've been living under a rock, you will be surprised to know that the Queen of England, the longest reigning monarch in Britain's history, passed away on September 8th, 2022. Now, usually I stay out of British politics because America fought for its independence against Britain, so then we wouldn't have to worry about them anymore. However, I do respect the Queen and her many years of service. She was a staple of unity and consistency in Britain and the world. Now, for America, we don't have a monarchy. However, we have people in our society that are put on a pedestal, almost like royalty. These people are known as our elites. The elites think that they are better than us, just regular old peasants. And this happens a lot when it comes to these elites and their political views. A lot of the times, what us, the average citizens, have to deal with, these elites don't have to deal with at all. Like, how many times have you seen a celebrity stand up on stage and say, "You must not fly airplanes, we're going to kill the planet, go green," and then they jump on their private jet? It happens a lot, and this is why there is a hypocrisy when it comes to these different elites. Now, what if there was some way that we could send people's political ideology right to their front door? Would their opinions change? Well, something like this did happen over the week, as there are many Republican border states that are struggling with illegal immigration. The Biden administration continues to do nothing, and other states claim that they are sanctuary cities, and they will protect immigrants no matter what happens. These states that are away from the border states will say stuff like, "We need to follow the Statue of Liberty. No human is illegal. Everyone needs to just come over and it'll be a great wonderland." Here's the problem. The states that are saying those different things aren't dealing with the crisis, so they don't understand the humanitarian crisis that are hitting these different border states. So these Republican governors had a genius idea. What if we take some of our immigrants and move them somewhere else? And that's exactly what they did. As border Republican governors like Greg Abbott of Texas, Arizona Governor Doug Ducey, and even Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis all sent immigrants to blue states. This included Washington, D.C., which is not a state, we've talked about that already, New York, Illinois, especially the Chicago region, and Martha's Vineyard, which is an island outside of Massachusetts. Honestly, it was a great plan, because the Democrats are showing their true colors. They claim to love immigrants, but as we will see, they weren't very welcoming to their guests. And the biggest story this week when it comes to this whole situation was Ron DeSantis sending 2 airplanes which held 50 immigrants to Martha's Vineyard. Now, Martha's Vineyard is known as an elitist hangout, as famous people like Spike Lee, David Letterman, Carly Simon, James Taylor, which Gorden Lightfoot is a better folk singer, just want to put that out there, Mike Nichols, Diane Sawyers, and many other people have vacation homes there, and it is a huge elitist hangout spot. If you remember, Barack Obama also has a mansion there, and he threw a huge 60th birthday party right in the middle of COVID-19. But that was fine because he was an elite. As I already mentioned, the island is a very high-class vacation spot, so the people of the island need to show some empathy. They need to accept diversity. Obama needs to open up his house right now so these immigrants have a place to sleep. Now, it was surprising to some, as when these 50 immigrants came to the community of Martha's Vineyard, the people were trying to help these people. As according to the Vineyard Gazette, state and island officials, along with faith-based groups, nonprofit agencies, and volunteers, rallied to help the immigrants. The migrants were being housed at St. Andrew's Church. So maybe the island was accepting. Maybe I was wrong about all this. Maybe the Democrats are showing their true colors and they are accepting immigrants and they are saying, "We are a sanctuary city. We are here to protect you." Well, all that changed the very next day. as this was all just temporary housing, as Governor Charlie Baker activated 125 National Guard troops to handle the situation. Now, do you think that's a little bit of an overkill? That's 2 National Guards per immigrant. Well, these immigrants were picked up and they were sent somewhere else. So it looks like this island was only welcoming for a few hours. Here is a resident of the island talking about how this island doesn't have room for 50 people.
So,
what are the most difficult challenges right now?
the difficult challenges are we have, at some point in time, they have to move from here to somewhere else, right? We don't have the services to take care of 50 immigrants, and we certainly don't have housing. We're in a housing crisis as we are on this island, and so we can't house everyone here that lives here and works here. We don't have housing for 50 more people.
This is wrong. There are many hotels on the island, and according to their website, with more than 80 lodging options, there is no shortage of choices. The island has room to at least house them for a week, not just a day or two. There is only a shortage of housing when you are coming from another country, then go to one state, and then that state sends you somewhere else. Especially when the migrants are coming to an island that is very rich and full of rich people. All this just shows that what the Democrats believe in is nothing but political. They got mad at Trump for shutting down the border, and when these states are saying, hey, you can help us by housing some immigrants, they say no, and they cry, and they complain. Now, some people got a little bit mad at Ron DeSantis for doing this. They're also getting mad at Greg Abbott and Doug Ducey. They're claiming that it is inhumane, or that it's human trafficking, and some people are even comparing it to the Holocaust. Here's Ken Burns saying that.
You can use a human life that is as valuable as yours or mine or Lynn's, and to put it in a position of becoming a political pawn in somebody's authoritarian game. This is the coming straight out of the authoritarian playbook. This is what's so disturbing about DeSantis, is to use human beings, to weaponize human beings for a political purpose. It's like when somebody disagrees with him in Florida, like the Walt Disney Company, he punishes them.
Okay, so this comparison is so far from the truth. Ron DeSantis putting people on airplanes that are air-conditioned and have all the accommodations for these immigrants and sending them to a literal paradise island is no comparison to what those evil people in Nazi Germany did to the Jews. They threw them on railroad carts where they were murdered. With the Martha's Vineyard situation, no one is getting killed, no one is dying, they're just getting sent to another place. And if you want me to be honest with you, I think that this comparison is very anti-Semitic. All this was Republicans putting the Democrats' policies on their front door. Along with that, if this was the same as the Holocaust, or using people as political pawns, or inhumane, or unjust, then Joe Biden has done the exact same thing. Did you know that the Joe Biden administration sent more than 70 flights transporting migrants to the southern border to Florida? Along with that, the Joe Biden administration were taking illegal immigrants and putting them in cities all over America. As we know, 70 planes is a lot more than 2 planes holding 50 people. So I honestly don't think the Democrats or these governors have any room to talk. Because this isn't the first time that Republicans have been accused of being inhumane or terrible when it comes to the southern border. As during the entirety of the Trump administration, the Democrats cried and complained about different holding facilities that the state of Texas were putting migrants in. Some Democrats once again used Nazi language and claimed that they were concentration camps. So, which is better? Sending migrants to Democrat states, or keeping them in these different holding facilities? Or would you rather there be no holding facilities at all, and the immigrants can just wander around in the desert and die? Or the immigrants try and trust different coyotes that will get them over the border in a semi-truck, and then the coyotes leave them in the truck where the people suffer and die in the heat. This is why this political stunt was so important. because it shows that the Democrats have no solution to the border crisis. Right now, all they can do is cry and complain and say that the Republicans are just terrible and evil. Because no matter what the Republicans do to try to fix the situation, the Democrats have accused the Republican Party of being inhumane or terrible or literal Nazis. They don't care about the border situation because it doesn't affect them. It doesn't affect Joe Biden, and it especially doesn't affect Kamala Harris, who still has refused to go down to the border. But she continues to say over and over and over again that the border is secure. As this week, Kamala Harris had an interview with Chuck Todd, and Chuck Todd flat out asked her, "Would you call the border secure?" And Kamala Harris answered by saying, "We have a secure border, in that this is a priority for any nation, including ours and our administration. But there are still a lot of problems that we are trying to fix, given the deterioration that happened over the last 4 years. Of course they're going to blame Donald Trump, because everything that is bad is always his fault. So Harris believes that the border is 100% secure. Well, Texas Governor Greg Abbott decided to show her that her idea of secure was wrong, as he loaded up 2 buses with 50 people each and sent them right to Kamala Harris's house. Sadly, Kamala Harris didn't have enough room in her home for some of these immigrants, so they were taken somewhere else. So while Kamala Harris was getting her political beliefs put on her front door, her boss Joe Biden is having a wonderful time, as Joe Biden threw a huge party to celebrate the passing of the Inflation Reduction Act. It was more than a party, it was an outdoor bash, with hundreds of elite guests, and everyone was just so happy. James Taylor was there and sang about how he sees fire and rain. Once again, Gorden Lightfoot is better. Chuck Schumer was there, along with Nancy Pelosi, who said, "What a thrill it is to be here to celebrate this life-changing legislation, the Inflation Reduction Act." She also said that the Inflation Reduction Act was so beautifully named because people have continued to attack this bill as being inflationary, and that this bill will do nothing to reduce inflation, which is true because you can't spend money to get rid of inflation. If only someone would have made an episode about that. Anyway, the people that were at this party were all elites, and they have nothing to worry about when it comes to inflation, because they are super rich. It is those stupid peasants, the average American people, that have to suffer. As the same day that this Inflation Reduction Act party was happening, a report came out that ironically stated that in August, inflation has gone up. As according to the New York Post, inflation rose by a higher than expected 8.3%. Even though gas prices are going down, this doesn't mean that other prices are going down as well, as food prices continue to rise. The Consumer Price Index surged 11.4%, which is the largest year-over-year increase since May of 1979. Man, we are truly living in Jimmy Carter times. Along with that, the housing market has increased, medical care has increased, the price of new cars have increased, and even the price of home furnishings have gone up. So inflation has continued to rise even though Joe Biden passed this act, and we've had 2 years of Joe Biden trying to tackle inflation. And every single time he's tried, he's failed. We can all clearly see that this doesn't work, and this inflation situation will just get worse and worse and worse. Now, the stock market wasn't expecting these different inflation numbers to rise so much. So on the same day that Joe Biden was having the party at the White House, the stock market crashed hard. As once again, according to the New York Post, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1,276 points, or 3.9%. while the Nasdaq fell more than 600 points. This was the worst day in the stock market since June of 2020. The S&P 500 dipped by more than 4%, and bonds, oil, and gold likewise took a hit. So while Joe Biden was speaking at this party about how great the economy was under his watch, and how prices around the country were dropping, news channels had the stock market numbers on the side of the screen showing all the stocks, and every single one of them was red. I wish that there was a way that we could do what the Republican governors did with the immigration problem and make these different elites feel the effects of their own spending actions. Because what Joe Biden did with this speech was tone deaf and didn't reflect the struggles that the American people are going through right now. And with this Inflation Reduction Act, I will say it again, it will only get worse. Inflation will only get worse. The Inflation Reduction Act recently got a name change, as the bill is a lot more focused on green energy, so the Democrats have now called it the Green Bill. Democrats have been pushing for green energy for so long, and no state has done more for green energy than California. Now, this might be shocking to you, but California in the summer is very, very hot. Every single summer, California experiences a heat wave, and heat waves can be devastating to the electrical grid. As last week, the grid reached an all-time high of 52,061 megawatts of power. So the California government had to do something, because if the grid kept this up with that much pressure, it could have caused it to fail, and there could have been rolling blackouts across the state of California. So Gavin Newsom went onto Twitter and made a video talking about how you can decrease your energy output, like not using big appliances like fans or AC units, washing machines, and others between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. However, the video was very interesting because Gavin Newsom was dressed in a sweater. Some people are even suspecting that he is actually in air conditioning while the citizens of his state are frying and can't turn on their AC units. Now, I'm not saying that Gavin Newsom is doing this, but I honestly wouldn't be shocked if he had AC on, because he is an elite. He's the governor of California. He has to stay cool. And we also know that Gavin Newsom would do something like this from his former actions. As during the COVID-19 lockdowns, where he locked down the state and told people not to go to restaurants, he was spotted at a restaurant. He's a hypocrite. So while I don't have proof that he was an AC, I think I can put 2 and 2 together. Now, more than likely, California will blame this heat wave on global warming, even though, as I already said, every single summer in California is hot, and the state is basically a desert. So to help with this global change crisis, California has stepped up and taken action by banning the sale of all gas-powered cars by the year of 2035. Meaning that automakers have to speed up production of electric cars by 2026. Here's the issue. Remember when I said that Gavin Newsom doesn't want you to use big appliances to save on electricity during different heat waves? This means that the people in California can't even charge their electric vehicle from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. when there is a heat wave. Isn't it a little bit ironic? You create a law to ban gas-powered cars by 2035 because everyone will just have an electric car, but the grid can't even handle all those electric cars. And even other elites like Jennifer Granholm and Pete Buttigieg have both said that electric cars are the way out of this climate crisis. How is that even possible if we can't charge them? Then once again, we know that electric cars are more expensive, so banning gas-powered cars only hurts the poor in the state, not the rich elite that can afford them. I'm just saying, I bet that Gavin Newsom and his whole administration have AC and their electric cars are 100% charged. Now, going back to the temperature thing, there's also another issue when it comes to thermostats. As in the video to all of California, Gavin Newsom said that the people need to turn up their thermostat to 78 degrees because this will lower energy production. Now, people can do this on their own, but the elites want to have control of your thermostat as well, as California has claimed that they want to try and control people's thermostat using different energy companies and smart thermostats. According to KPCC, more than 41,000 residential customers in Southern California have given permission for thermostat companies to adjust home temperatures when electricity demand is likely to peak. Now, this isn't just happening in California, as other states are doing the exact same thing as well. As in Colorado, 22,000 smart thermostats were locked over the recent energy emergency. The thermostat even says that by saying, due to a rare energy emergency that may affect the local energy grid, your temperature slider has been changed from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. because you enrolled in a community energy saving program. Now, this will probably continue to happen in more states, and with more companies that are promoting their smart thermostats. Over across the pond, Switzerland is considering jailing anyone that heats their home above 66 degrees during the winter. Some will even be fined up to 3,000 Swiss francs. Europe is struggling so much with energy right now that they are turning back to coal and other natural resources because they are more reliable than the green energy. But the elites in our society will tell you to freeze to death in the winter, or bake in the sun because the earth is dying, and we are the only ones that can save it, while they are sitting comfortably in their air-conditioned homes, or their air-conditioned private jets, or in their fully charged electric cars. In the end, there is a certain way that these elites want us to live. They want us to wake up in the morning soaked in sweat, because the government just turned off our thermostat. You go to your garage to start your government-mandated electric vehicle, and it won't start, because you had to conserve how much power you used the night before. You then walk to Starbucks, where a coffee costs $25 because inflation has continued to rise. And then you go to work at a homeless shelter with tens of thousands of immigrants living there because the Democrats won't fix the border issue, and when you try to send them to different states or sanctuary cities, they get mad and complain and call you human traffickers. The elite agenda is something that needs to be destroyed. It is something that I wish that these elite politicians could deal with. I wish they couldn't charge their electric vehicles. I wish that they couldn't control their thermostats. I wish they had to pay these prices for groceries that we, the average American citizens, have to. I wish that their politics would end up on their front door. And then they can realize that their policies only hurt people, not help people. And with that, I just want to thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Dockery Docket. And until next time, like my mom always says, be good, be kind, be loving, goodbye.